Hey guys and girls, I'm sitting on top of my 1972 Chevelle that just made a 2,000 mile trek to North Carolina and back. We did pull over several times and adjust on some coilovers. The car was too low, if that's ever a thing. But overall, like it did very well. It performed almost flawlessly. After a thrash of plumbing and wiring and assembly and trying to tidy up a whole bunch of wires underneath this car in a short amount of time. We got the chassis back on Thursday night, or Thursday afternoon, put the whole chassis together. It was a rolling chassis Thursday night. I come in on Friday and pretty much knocked it out as far as getting it underneath the body. I wasn't able to work it all on Saturday. And then I came in on Sunday and I did about 14 hours on that Sunday before mini nats and got the car fired up for the first time. And then Monday morning, it was on the thrash to get it to the exhaust shop. The exhaust shop took about 24 hours to get it done. They got the exhaust coming out the side. They got all my V-bands underneath it. Thank you 405 Muffler here in Oklahoma City for getting this done in such a quick time. And then I immediately took it over to A&H Heat and Air to have the vintage air finished up. They built me some custom lines for that AC compressor, and they hand built all of our lines that go into the box in the dash. So I got the car to them Tuesday around 1:30, and we finished it up Wednesday night at the AC shop about 9:30 and finally took it for its maiden voyage back to the shop, you know, the 8 or 9 miles back here. Realized real quick that the car was a little too low then. We ran a 10-inch spring in the front. It rubbed and chewed up one of the front tires making a corner, so we put gas in it the first time, drove it here. I realized that there's no sense in trying to work through the night just to leave early in the morning or whatnot, so we just decided to go to bed and get up early on Thursday morning. And huge shout out to my homie Rory Griffith from, I call him Roar Dog, from Las Vegas. Called him on Tuesday and said, hey, catch a flight to Oklahoma City on Wednesday. The guy had a flight within 20 minutes. I picked him up from the airport on Wednesday and he rode with me. Down-ass dude, I guess is what you call it. He'd fly halfway across the country just to ride halfway across the country, and he helped me with the last few hours of putting this thing together and a lot of the tidying up of wires and shit under the dash. But fast forward to the trip. We left here Thursday at 1 o'clock, 1:15. I hadn't even packed yet. The second maiden voyage was jumping in the car and driving to my house so I could pack, throw my shit together, and then we jumped in the car and just drove east and hauled ass. I mean, stopped and bought a jack and some jack stands at a Harbor Freight. Rory took plenty of pictures of me underneath the car in front of a Harbor Freight. That was awesome. Thanks, Rory. And then continued to drive. We made it to Jackson, Tennessee that first night. I think we stopped at 10 o'clock. We had to stop, eat some Waffle House for dinner, and then went to bed that night. Got a really nice hotel room. I think they knew the bed bugs by name. And then we continued the drive the next morning. We stopped. We had plenty of intel of people that have already passed by. The guys from California, our Oklahomies that were here, they knew about this stretch of highway that was horrible. And our dumbasses are going with no spare. So like, we knew that we couldn't afford to run through this bad stretch of highway, so we stopped. That way we could approach this bad stretch of road in daylight. So we did. We stayed in the left lane. We dodged a couple potholes that would swallow semi trucks, and we did all right. We got through that and continued to haul ass and just kind of, I mean, I had the Airbnb was paid for in Maggie Valley for Thursday night. Who gives a shit? Like, I forfeited it and bought a hotel room in Jackson, Tennessee, but it was worth it just to kind of chill and get there. I think we rolled into Maggie Valley at 4 o'clock on Friday. The show's pretty much over for the day at that point, but at that point we're halfway through the trip. We've driven 14 hours and we put 900 and something miles on the car at the time, and pretty stoked that it did well. I mean, was it perfect? No. We'll get to that in a minute about some of the changes that I made or some of the things that I forgot to do because in crunch time. But anyway, we get up ass crack of dawn on Sunday morning and we drive back. We drive straight through and we showed up here at 7 p.m. We got back to my house. And I couldn't wait to get out of this goddamn car. Like, it's too long. But, so the things that I forgot. The car had a real bad vibration around 80, 85. And I'm pretty sure it was the tires. I didn't know for sure. So he was able to come to the shop Monday morning and we threw it up on the lift. And the first thing I noticed, there's not a single weight on either of those back tires. We balanced the front ones, but why we never balanced the rear ones, I don't know. So that, like, it just shook my teeth the whole damn trip. That wasn't great. So that's one thing that I would change about the trip. The second was we ran a 28-inch steering column in this car. And where I mounted the seats, where I felt the most comfortable sitting in this car, a 28 was way too short. I could barely hold on to the steering wheel. And if I need to change lanes to hit my blinkers, I would have to lean forward to do that. So I would definitely change that about the trip. Since then, I've put a 32-inch long column in it. It's 10 times better. I never had the car aligned. Like, that was one of the things that had to get cut off the list in the short amount of time we had to put this thing together, because crunches are fun. You know, we should all do that from time to time. That's why I don't have any hair on the top of my head, by the way. But, you know, I did my alignment and the car did great. It barely pulled to the right. Steering wheel's a little bit low to the right. The steering wheel that we used in the car is a US Mags. It matches the wheels on the car. And something that really drove me nuts is it's a full 5-spoke wheel, which I liked at the beginning. You know, it looked really cool, but it blocked your gauges. And with it, steering wheel being a little bit low to the right, it put that top spoke right at 80 miles per hour or wherever you're gonna cruise at. So to see how fast you're going, or you'd have to look around that spoke. So I've already contacted US Mags, and they're gonna cut me a steering wheel that has 4 spokes. You know, most of your steering wheels have 3. They cut 2 spokes out of them, and I didn't care for that. I like the 4-spoke idea, and just cut that top one out of it. That way you can see all your gauges and all your vitals of the car. So, but other than that, I mean, we drove this car 28 hours, 2,000 miles with no windshield wipers. We did not have time to do the hood hinges. We're gonna put some hood hinges underneath my ass here because the stock ones no longer work. So the hood was just pinned down in the front with a latch, so it kind of bounced the whole way. We had no sound deadening whatsoever. We had no carpet, or I cut a few chunks of carpet in there. There was no radio, so me and Roar Dog were there with our own thoughts. We're in the car for 28 hours. He probably slept about 25 and a half of them, so a lot of times I was just thinking to myself or talking to myself. It was pretty boring, but the times that he was awake, it was pretty awesome. Sorry for telling on you, Roar Dog. I don't even know if he watches these YouTubes, but overall, you know, I can pick apart the car, I can pick apart the trip, but you can't pick apart those memories. And that's exactly what the goal of this is to try to bring back what we used to do when we was younger, when we didn't have trucks and trailers. We didn't have a way of transporting these things there. We had to build them, we had to throw them together, we had to thrash, and we drove these damn things there. And to me, that was the most funnest part of that trip, was driving this pile of shit there, not knowing if you're gonna make it another mile or another 1,000 miles, and driving it back. And just, you know, it took you back to when you was younger, and you were able to drive your trucks to shows, and you pull up in a gas station or at a restaurant or whatever the case is, and people are talking to you left and right about the car or the truck or whatever you're gonna drive. That's what it meant most to me, is driving halfway across the country and something that you put together, you and your guys put together with your own hands, and enjoying it. And it's not on a trailer. Like, if it breaks, we pull over and we fix it. If it breaks beyond repair, you have the power of Facebook to come help you. If you got buddies in the area, or you know, you may meet a perfect stranger that can come help you. You may make a lifelong friend out of it doing something like that. Back in the day when we were young, we didn't have the Facebooks. You had to know somebody, start calling somebody, and somebody had to know somebody that knows somebody that can come help you or pick you up or whatever the case is. So the days have changed definitely from when we were younger. The reach of the social media and the internet is a lot easier to do. So I didn't have a worry in the world that if something were to happen, that I could find somebody that I knew that could come help me in a worst case need. You know, and you always have AAA. You always have rental cars if this piece of shit like burns to the ground. Like, we're gonna have to catch a flight back to Oklahoma City. So, as far as shout outs would help me on this car, Peepaw, Damian Cole, I know you're out there in Louisiana now. Thank you for helping build the chassis, design and build the chassis. Frank Mitchell works here. He's our new frame builder. He's done a lot of the changes or tweaks on the chassis. He got a lot knocked out on this as well. Huge shout out to Randy Branham, one of our star sheet metal guys here that not only had to put way more work into this car than we ever thought, but I mean he hustled his ass off, just busted ass to build the firewall, all brand new floors that we didn't expect to do, those tubs, trunk, all that shit. So, you know, always a huge thanks to Sean for running the shop while I'm dicking off doing stuff like this. And you know, your 405 muffler guys, appreciate all the hard work and quick over there. The powder coaters, they powder coat the chassis is Outcast Powder Coating here in Oklahoma City. They knocked it out almost overnight. They knocked out the chassis and the Cerakote on those headers. I got to send them the rest of the exhaust now that it's all built. Try to keep that heat inside of the tubes instead of going on the outside and heating up the underside of this car as low as it is. A&H Heat and Air, those guys staying late to get that thing done so we can have some cold air. We didn't have windshield wipers, so I at least wanted a defroster with that vintage heat and air because I only wanted to fight one side of the windshield. I didn't want to fight both sides. So also shout out to Phil at Twisted Images for hooking us up with that vintage air and the Dakota Digital gauges. Huge shout out for that. Appreciate the hookup on that. And a big thanks to Roar Dog for flying in from Las Vegas and riding with me and helping me finish out the car. That was a big part of, you know, I was about ass whooped with it at that point. He come in and was just kind of like a fresh set of eyes and hands to knock out the rest of the car with me, especially in the wiring. I wasn't too much of a fan of the wiring in this car, and he just jumped in it and did it. So you should probably do a big shout out to the wife and the kiddos for, you know, putting up with me not being home and spending so many hours at the shop putting this thing together. Couldn't do it without Care Bear at home, taking care of them kiddos and help them with my laundry and everything else. So, but as far as the future, you know, we're going to consider this phase 1. From here, we'll look into doing some body mods to the car, and then possibly look into getting the paint job and the interior done here pretty soon. So stay tuned. Other than that, I might just drive the living shit out of this car like I already did. There's no shortage of this right foot going to the floor. Oh, and there might be a Whipple here pretty soon too. I definitely think it needs a little bit of boost to help turn those tires. Stay tuned till next time. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever. All the social medias. Tired of naming them off. See you later.